We'll try to make it work. And I told him already, I'll tell him again for next game not to boot you, because that's not very polite. Anyways, at the bottom left-hand corner of Neo Planet S, we have KT Rolster's Flash. And over here at the upper right, his opponent, Acer's MMA. So we are seeing MMA going for the gas first, whereas Flash goes for the barracks faster, which means Flash will have a faster orbital, a few more units a little bit earlier, but MMA is going to have the faster factory. What do you think about these openings?
You know, as far as this goes, it looks like Flash is going to go for more like the macro opening, and it's just going to come down to whether or not MMA can punish that with his opening. So, you know, I kind of favor Flash in that respect. I think he's got the defense available, especially on a map like this where Reapers are okay, but they're not as good as they could be on other maps like Star Station.
Yeah, I mean, the threat from MMA is going to be really... I don't see him doing too much with just some Hellions early. Flash will have a wall-on. But it's going to be when the Medevac comes out or the Banshee comes out. That's where the test is. Can MMA get some damage done? And also the question is, how fast will Flash go for that command center? He's adding in the gas, so he may, in fact, not expand super, super fast himself. We'll see. What's that gas being used for? Maybe just a reactor in the command center, or he might actually go to a factory, although, of course, it's going to be slower than MMA's factory.
Yeah, so he's already dropping some Marines down there to low ground, pumping the second one out. We'll see what he's going to do after the second Marine comes out. That seems like usually whenever they might throw a tech lab or an reactor onto that barracks, or if he'll throw down a factory. We'll see whenever that 100 gas pops up. And there's the reactor. Okay.
Absolutely. So it definitely looks like a standard reactor expansion. And one of the ideas behind this is, yes, your command center is not quite as fast as if you went gasless, but having that reactor out early helps a lot with getting your Marine count up by around the 5 or 6 minute. That reactor really starts kicking in and dealing with things like Hellion drops, just Hellion pressure from the front, dealing with Banshees. Having that higher Marine count is really important, especially going up against someone like MMA. He's actually playing a one base build. We see he's going for the starport and a tech lab, so he's going to be going straight for Cloak Banshees.
Yeah, going that reactor opening on that barracks lets you get Marines, obviously. But Marines are so versatile. They're like the one unit you can make as Terran that kind of work versus everything. They may not work the best in certain situations, but they do, quote-unquote, work versus everything. You know, they can stop Banshees. You know, you can put them in bunkers to deal with Hellions, and they can deal with Widow Mines, etc., etc.
The question is, when is Flash going to use that scam? Because knowing that his opponent is actually going for Cloak Banshees would be huge, because, oh, he's already getting to eBay. He's just decided, you know what, let's just do it. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he knew it was a fast factory, right, from the early scout, right? And then he's figured out, okay, it's a fast factory. He hasn't attacked me yet. There's a good chance it's going to be Banshee. And if you know MMA does love Banshees and TvT. So it could just be kind of predicting it based on the way the game's gone. It could just also be a safety eBay. You know, he wants to upgrade at some point anyway, so why not get that started?
Yeah, MMA is very good with Banshees. I think he had a recent game in, was it GSTL, where he made a bunch of Banshees? Am I remembering that correctly? I don't know if that is or not, but...
I haven't caught up with GSTL, but I've seen a bunch of his games, even from... WCS, where I mean, back in the last season, he would just make Banshees and it wouldn't matter. Like, people would have 30 Marines, he's like, nope, doesn't matter. I'll kill 10 of them with a Banshee, and I'm bored of killing your Marines with my insane Banshee micro. Let's go into the SCVs. Let's kill 20 of those, too. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, here comes in his first Banshee. Let's see what it can do here. Missile turret is already ready, and Flash is just totally prepared here. No damage done yet. In fact, a Viking is even about to come out as well. He's got a missile turret protecting his structures that are building units. Flash is just in a great position.
And I love where he put that missile turret, and on top of that, I loved where he's rallying his SCVs on his natural. You see all of his SCVs are in the bottom part of the natural, so none of the SCVs are on the upper edge of it that can be picked off, even within missile turret range.
And now the Banshee tries to come into the main. That's deflected as well. You know, some people are hesitant to build 3 turrets. They're like, that's 300 minerals. Well, use 1 scan. You probably spent almost that much already. Oh, no, here's the Hellions coming in. They're going to get the kill on the Widow Mine. Oh, not quite. Forced back by the Banshee. But he has spotted this Marine tank push moving out, and he knows that his next step he already has an advantage from deflecting the Banshees. If he can deflect this push, he'll have a nice macro lead going into the mid-game.
Yeah, at this point, Flash knows what's up. He's held off that first Banshee push extremely well, and now he has to deal with these siege tanks. So I'm kind of expecting maybe an SCV pull if he just wants to shut this down really fast. But we'll see what he's going to do here.
He doesn't really have a big Marine count right now, so it's a little bit tricky. He has to buy time with bunkers at the moment. He was using the reactor, course reactor at Hellion, so his Marine count's a little bit smaller. But he does now have a tank out, 2 additional bunkers, so while maybe he'll get contained, I don't see him at all dying to this.
Yeah, he's got good high-grounded vision. He's got the Viking up there. He's got more than enough SCVs repairing, and he should be able to hold this off fairly well. Now it's just going to come up to MMA. What does he want to do here? He's got his own expansion coming up, but we'll see how much damage he can actually do with this push.
3 Vikings now. I like how Flash is patient. He's saving the scan, saying it's not worth using the scan. I mean, the Banshee can't really do anything critical anyway. There comes a scan from MMA trying to see what exactly Flash is up to. He just sees a rock-solid defense. He's going to, pick off a bunker or 2 here, but Flash can even just salvage those as soon as he's confident in his defense. And like you mentioned, MMA does have that expansion coming up. But in fact, actually, he's getting the 3rd command center as well, so he really wants to try to get back up in economy.
Yeah, he's trying to set up a contain here and just kind of explode macro-wise and try and get ahead of Flash in that respect. But Flash seems like he's going to bust out of this contain pretty soon.
Yeah, in fact, actually, he's able to just kind of undercut it now. He's trying to break it. There's a lot of Marines from MMA here. 2 siege tanks for Flash, 1 in siege mode, 1 in not, focusing down the tank, using Vikings as well. And Flash is going to clean that one up. I like how MMA, as soon as the Vikings landed, he went straight for those, targeted those, knowing he's going to lose the battle, but saying air control is big. If he counter pushes right now, I can't really stop it. I don't really have enough, but I have Banshees. So if I kill all his Vikings, I can make a Banshee, and that can shut down any counter aggression.
Yeah, so many times you'll see Terran players open up with Cloak Banshee and try to do a little bit of harassment, and then they'll just stop making them completely, essentially throwing away all that investment into the tech they've done. But I love what MMA is doing here. He's just continuing to produce Banshees, forcing his opponent to have to maintain air dominance. Otherwise, those Banshees can tear apart siege tanks if left unprotected.
There's a scan from MMA, seeing Flash's base. He still hasn't identified a time to the 3rd command center quite yet, so that might make him a little bit nervous. He's got to be afraid that if Flash had potentially was reacting out some medevacs behind those Vikings, there could be a drop in his main. So he's got to be a little bit careful of that, as well as, of course, defending the front. But again, both these players, even if the other player has a stronger army, they've got the bunkers and tanks they can defend, but this is where the threat comes in. And Flash with the air control can start to really do some damage to MMA's base. His starport's vulnerable. The barracks he's trying to build are vulnerable, and there goes a lot of cancels and some removing around structures. But Flash has control of a good chunk of MMA's base at this point.
Yeah, the siege tanks with their awesome range. I love what Flash did here. He isn't engaging the front of the base, which might be somewhat risky, but he put himself in a position to completely shut down a lot of production capabilities MMA has at relatively 0 cost or 0 risk.
Yeah, it was a great move here. It really makes it very cramped for MMA. Every time he moves units around, he has to be careful. Even misjudging a tank there and actually losing one, not quite perfect on their range. And Flash has definitely got a great... it's not a full container. MMA can slip around the bottom, but MMA has to be so careful because as soon as medevacs come up in there could be a threat of elevator attack. MMA is trying to do some damage with his Banshee, but we see here Flash maybe a little bit nervous, making what is a common mistake to most, but you wouldn't expect it from Flash, is he forgot he got the eBay at the start to deal with Banshees. And he's at that point in the game, he's like, I want to start getting upgrades. So he built 2 eBays, even though he had that one up earlier.
Now you can make that, I don't know, the
missile turret range.
Missile turret range, there we go. That's a useful upgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Banshees anyway, so.
There you go. He can make it look like it was intentional. That's actually what I would do. But Flash saying, you know what, it's not worth wasting 100 just to make it look like that was an intentional move. Taking out the bunker at the front, and MMA's been really pushed back, and all that production delay from when he had to cancel the barracks, move the starport, he's really hurting in the supply. I mean, he's down by a bit. He's got his siege tank defense, but his barracks production is significantly behind Flash's. I mean, it's 21 Marines on Flash's side to 9 from MMA, and actually twice the tank count as well. Flash, the 3rd base coming up, he's in firm control of this game.
Yeah, I see that there's a reactor on MMA's starports, so he has the ability to, recap that air dominance if he just continues to produce Vikings, and Flash seems to have stopped doing that, producing medevacs. So there may be a moment where he kind of can eclipse him here, but nevertheless, it looks like we've got medevacs coming out of MMA now as well.
Yes, absolutely. Both these players realizing that as they're, getting more and more Marines on the field with stim pack, the medevacs are essential. And for MMA, he's like, there's too many tanks out there. I can't leave my base. Like, SCV pool against this many tanks to try to break it. Even if he does clean it up, he'd have nothing left to continue the game as old as SCVs to be dead. So he's using these medevacs to try to bypass that contain.
Yeah, I see the medevacs going down there in the bottom part of the map, and essentially what Flash has done here, MMA went for that quick third, but he's only been able to use it as mule drops, and that's just going to mine himself out faster. He hasn't been able to fly that to the third, but speak of the devil, he's doing that right now, trying to sneak an expansion in the top part of the map.
It's a risky move, but I think it's the right one. Meanwhile, this drop can do a lot of damage here. SCVs are trying to retreat. The depots are underway. Lower the depots. No SCVs are going to bravely fight to defend that base. Meanwhile, at the front, using the air control, MMA is actually trying to push forward, but a scan from Flash stops that. Oh, no, MMA! Watch those units. But it's third base. Almost getting to orbital, but not quite. Flash does get back in time to defend. But that was a great move by MMA. It's moves like that that'll get him back into this game.
Yeah, you have to try and throw your opponent on tilt whenever you're trapped in your base. You have to open up avenues of attack to force your opponent to make mistakes, then you can kind of capitalize on them. But look at this, at the very top, Flash scouts out the third base, and now that base is going to have to fly back home. There's short-lived, little bit of increased income there.
But as Flash goes to kill that orbital, he gets it, but leaves the tanks vulnerable. MMA pushes out, wipes up all those tanks, and all of a sudden, while he did lose an orbital, that's a big hit. I think that was a good exchange for MMA because there was no way he was going to take out those tanks with the Marines there. Finally getting them eyesight like that. Now he has a shot in the game. Now he's down a whole base. He's trying to rebuild that third command center. And as far as upgrades go, they're even right now, but because MMA never really had that third base going, he doesn't have the resources to continue those upgrades at the same rate Flash does, just now starting 2-2. Just a hair behind, actually. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The trading of the command center for all of those siege tanks, I think is a great play because look at it. Now we're in a position where he can take another third. The map control is kind of even at this point, but we see MMA pushing out, so he may go for another contain. So we're switching back from one player containing the other to back and forth, and now it seems like MMA is in a prime position to hold his opponent down to 3 bases here.
It looks like that's what he wants to do. I think he was like, I just killed a lot of units. I probably have a stronger army. He didn't realize that he's playing against Flash, who actually just macroed up, and armies are very even. But MMA does have a great position here. If he can inch his way between the third and natural and cut them off from each other, then all of a sudden he can easily attack whichever one has less defense. And it looks like he's trying to do that, sending Marines now into that natural, busting through Flash's rallied forces. But that leaves his tanks vulnerable. Flash makes a move, but MMA comes in, and that did not work at all for Flash.
Yeah, those huge amount of Marines just get evaporated by all those siege tanks there. Maybe he underestimated how many siege tanks were there, but that was a great win there for MMA as far as fights go.
And now, Flash forced to pull SCVs at a natural to defend that. His third base, those 2 tanks are a pretty strong defense for now, but with all the medevacs and reinforcements MMA has, he may try to push in here and go after this third base. Looks like he's trying to do that, but Flash has the Vikings. Oh, almost losing both of those. The Vikings are very important at this point to have the air control and vision, and also pick off your opponent's medevacs.
Yeah, so MMA with a supply lead now of about 20. Just continuing trying to send reinforcements across the map. He needs to continue to reinforce himself from his base, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. And Flash's defensive position here along with his reinforcements will easily allow him to break this contain if he's given enough time.
And MMA doesn't want to give him that time, pushing in now, taking out both those tanks with a Marine drop. Flash rushes to defend. Right now, though, Flash is 2-2 versus 1-1. This is the moment he wants this Marine trade, but he's forced to pull SCVs. There's siege tanks supporting MMA, but the upgrades actually play a big role there. That might have been the game right there if it wasn't for the upgrades. But Flash realizes his third base is now cut off. He's pretty much forced to abandon it.
Oh, wow, in that fight, at the very beginning of that fight, MMA was actually targeting that command center instead of any of the units, and that thing got so close to being dead. I think it was like sub 100 life. He was so close to taking that out.
Even though he wasn't able to, though, he's still got a great position, mopping up all these SCVs here. Flash is trying to counterattack, but MMA detects it with his scan. He's trying to position some forces to defend against this, and Flash's Marines are pretty battered, and upgrades are even now. That's a tough situation for that small crew, but at the front, MMA leaves a couple tanks exposed. Flash is going to pick up the kills on those. Oh, but there's 4 more in the back, and actually that trade, it started looking good for Flash, but then it ended up with MMA getting another win there.
Yeah, it's that thing where you're going into a siege tank army with the Marines and you're like, all right, I think I got him, and then it's like, nope, not at all. Too many siege tanks, beyond the vision.
There's always ones back there. MMA goes for the Doom drop. Flash has actually reacted very fast. His own siege tank's in position. And is Seek actually going to deal with this? This could be Flash's great comeback. No, unfortunately, even though he reacted fast, the positioning of the barracks there really interfered with his Marines closing the gap. And while he does clean it up, taking massive losses in the process, MMA realizing that the damage has been done. He's back on the retreat, but he's mining happily off 3 bases, and he's killed so many workers from Flash.
Yeah, supply tells the story as usual, 118, at least by the time I'm looking at it, to 83. But that 3rd base up there, look at all the mining going on up there. That's just, he's just getting so much economy out of that 3rd base that MMA's just now got up, or has had it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a decisive economic advantage here, and the production tab really tells the story. I mean, Flash is just producing a few units here, a few units there, of course, due to his lack of economy. MMA is continuing his upgrades, getting sensor towers, and also producing units in quite a large scale. The game is definitely in his favor, but we've seen the game swing both ways throughout this series, so Flash is definitely not out of it yet.
Yeah, this game has went, one way, the other. It's been such a back and forth game so far. I love TvTs that play out like this, where one contain turns into another contain, and they just capitalize on the advantage they get from the other player.
Flash trying to catch up, and SCV's producing him 3 at a time. Meanwhile, Flash is going to wait to try to basically make MMA get overconfident. MMA might throw out a couple drops that Flash can pick those off, or if MMA takes a bad engagement, that's Flash's way to get back in the game. From here, the longer the game goes without an engagement, the more it's going to favor Flash, because MMA can't really improve his economy more, whereas Flash can still improve his economy getting additional SCVs. MMA can also is going to reach max, where he can't improve his army, and Flash can try to catch back up. But MMA moving out now across the top of the map as he takes a 4th in the upper left, really trying to lock down this map. But Flash has a considerable amount of forces as well.
Yeah, so the 3 attack upgrades just finished for MMA, and I think Flash hasn't even started his 3-3 upgrades yet, so MMA's going to have an upgrade lead here for quite a while.
And attacking from multiple angles there. Picks off that orbital. A great move utilizing that 3rd attack upgrade. Now has a nice position choking off the top of the map. Flash has got to be desperate. Down at 2 bases now. He's trying to launch a counterattack across the bottom of the map, and that's probably his best option. Is just don't even get defense. If it's a base trade, who knows? Maybe he can make a comeback. But MMA, he's now inside that sensor tower range. What does MMA have to defend? Just a single tank. Oh, more tanks swim back here. 3 tanks, a handful of Marines. That may be enough. We know, of course, MMA is moving in on Flash's natural.
Yeah, so the base race has started. It's going to come down to who's got the better defense, who's got more production back at home to deal with this.
Oh, it looks like MMA, it's not even a base race. He's able to defend, pulling a few SCVs to help him in that battle. Cleans up Flash's attack, and in a game that Flash looked like he was doing well, and MMA really pulled a couple awesome moves, couple drops, a great seizing of the opportunity there when Flash's tanks were exposed to really turn this game around. That was pretty awesome. What do you think we're going to see coming into game 2?
So does Flash get to pick game 2? Is that how the maps work? Sorry, map 2?
They each, I think, veto one map. It's going to be Belshire Vestige is the map. I don't know the exact process.
Okay. I know Flash just went mech before in TvT. I'm wondering if he's going to fall back on that. That's the only thing I could think of that he may change up.
Yeah. He definitely. It's really kind of dependent on map. Neoplanet S. It's a little bit trickier with all the movement across top and bottom, but Belshire Vestige is a great map for that mech play, and I think we will see Flash use that. But we'll have to see. Anyways, we're going to take a quick 1-minute break. We'll be right back with game number 2.